This is a public meeting of the Berlin Conservation Commission occurring via Zoom webinar on June 3rd, 2020, starting at 7 p.m.-ish. As a preliminary matter, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Okay, so confirm member access. So this is John Aney, Chair of the Berlin Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. So I believe Carolyn's probably recuperating. I didn't see her.
Yeah, she said she wasn't going to be here tonight.
Okay.
Recuperating from what?
A hand surgery.
Oh,
Hand surgery.
what'd she punch?
You actually, but you're so thick you didn't remember it. All right. So Walter Bickford, acknowledge your presence. Walter, wake up.
I don't see him on the list above on my screen.
Oh, he's on my screen. His lips
I
are
see him.
moving, but there's no sound. Is he muted?
Walter, you're mute. Could you unmute yourself, Walter?
Not showing that he's muted.
Yeah, he doesn't appear to be muted.
All right, well, he's there. Louise Janda,
Here?
Liz Dica,
Here.
Steve Beard.
Yahoo!
What?
I'm here.
Yes. Yes. Carol is not.
Right.
Robin Berry,
Here.
Holly Kennedy DeGrudela.
Here.
All right, I didn't miss anybody, did I?
Try
No.
Walter again.
Walter? Well, this may be a preference, actually. Okay, so anticipated speakers, Seth Donahue from Ducharme and Dillis is set to join us, I believe he said he may not pop in until 7:30 when the appointment is. And then Mr. William Muldoon of Randall Road is here. Hello, Mr. Muldoon.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. And then Ashley Davies of SVT will join us later. She's at a different Zoom meeting, and so she'll pop over later.
All right. Quick question. I need to pop off for a meeting at 9:15.
Can Carol pop on? You know, Carol.
She's no longer a member, right?
There's a holdover rule. So I read about this. So there's a holdover rule. Until her position is replaced, she can still function as a commission member.
Okay.
So she could join us, and that would be pleasant.
I will ask.
And she could replace you, which would be even more pleasant.
Really? All right. Because, yes, I'm concerned that you don't, well, if Walter's not on, you don't have a quorum then if I leave.
Yeah, no. So Carol, unless Walter can get his volume fixed, his speaker fixed, we'll need Carol. Thank you, Steve. Okay.
All right.
With a quorum of the commission, I call this meeting to order at 7:09 p.m. on Wednesday, June 3rd, 2020. This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020 due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Berlin website at www.townofberlin.com. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, provided reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. While no in-person attendance of members of the public is permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. The standard public comment portion of this meeting will accommodate limited public comment. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening. Who's that? Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay.
You lucked out.
Yeah, well. No.
Who was that?
For this
That was
meeting,
my
the Conservation. Commission is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, identifying how the public may join. Meeting materials. The public is encouraged to follow along during this meeting using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Supporting materials that are available this evening to members of the Conservation Commission can be made available to the public by request. Ground rules. Commission members and speakers on the agenda. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking if you're making a racket. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Louise is taking the minutes, so everybody please speak clearly. Public comment portion of the agenda. To the extent that our technical capability allows, public comment will be permitted during the public comment portion of this meeting as follows. Attendees' phones and other devices will be muted and until they raise their hands and are recognized by me and, well, Robin to speak. I ask each member of the public who wishes to speak to identify their name, and I will afford each speaker time to ask a question or make a brief comment. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Boom. Okay, so next up, Treasurer's report. I don't think we have a Treasurer's report. Do we have a Treasurer's report right now?
No.
Okay. I don't frankly think things have changed much over the past 2 weeks, so we will skip over that. All right, bills and forms. Where's this stupid thing go? Oh, that's right. Steve, I can see it when you do that. There you go, that's better. Can you see this?
I see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is mailing over the past in the month of May that I did. I mean, usually Leanne does this, but it's just was easier with the COVID stuff for me to do it. So, and I have receipts, which I can show people if they really want to see them, but they're affixed to the original printed version. So I'd like to hear a motion that the commission will reimburse me for this.
I make a motion that we reimburse Leanne for the sum.
No, me.
Oh, I will reimburse John for $39.90.
I didn't think anybody was going to say that. Okay, second.
That changes things.
Any further discussion besides Steve's? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Well, roll call vote, yes. I'll
Yes.
start with me, yes. Liz,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Louise?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Boy, voting for yourself, isn't that a conflict of interest?
I don't care, I want my 40 bucks back. All right, so next up, budget estimate. I have to screen share this too. If you remember last meeting, Margaret asked us to do a budget estimate. Oh, this is so annoying. There we go. So I did one, and June Poland is pestering everybody to turn it in. Apparently no one's turned it in. So this is just a rough estimate of postage and supplies for the next quarter. The big thing here is there's dues. That's MACC dues, and we definitely need that. That's a rough figure. And then in September, I'm figuring 1 or 2 people will go to one of the MACC conferences. So this is what I'm submitting. Any comment?
What's the grand total?
$900 for 3 months.
$900?
For the 3 months, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
You want a proposal?
Yeah.
I propose that we accept John's budget of $900 for fiscal year 2021.
First quarter.
Budget estimate. Is there a second?
Second?
Further discussion? All those in favor, me, aye. Louise,
Yes. Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
Steve,
Me. I.
Walter?
Yes.
Okay. Steve, we probably should still actually see you as much as I'd prefer not to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right, thank you.
That's enough. That's enough.
So I will send that to Margaret and June.
Didn't review the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, thank you for that. I got carried away. We have time for that. I'll have to post those. Oh, that's right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Try to make this as quick as possible. There we go. So I'll just go ahead and read them, if that's okay.
Or,
Minutes of May 20th, 2020, meeting opened at 7:05. John stated the meeting was being recorded and the reasons for the meeting being held remotely on Zoom by executive order of Governor Baker. Due to COVID-19, the town offices are closed to the public. Public gatherings limited to no more than 10 people. John reviewed the rules for holding the remote meeting. A roll call attendance was taken with the following results. Attendees: John A. Chair, Steve Beard, Louise Jonda, Carolyn McDonald, Carol O'Connell, Liz DiChiara. Associate non-voting members: Robin Berry, co-host, and Holly Kennedy DeGrudela. Other attendees: Mary Arata, Steve Morris from Ecotech. It's Morris' son. Missed that one. And Ashley Davies from SVT. Number one, minutes of previous meeting. Minutes for May 6, 2020 were reviewed and amended. Walter moved to accept the minutes as amended. Carolyn seconded the motion, which passed unanimously by roll call vote of members present. 2, Treasury report.
Excuse me, can I interrupt you there? These were the minutes. You don't have me in attendance there, but yet I moved at that meeting.
I guess you're right. It was just wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you, Walter.
Oh, don't mention it.
There you go. You're back in.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So Treasury annual budget, $1,310.88. Wetlands funds, $11,091.97. Open space land acquisition, $186,948.66. There were no notices. Mail notices. Received a request from Margaret Nardowitz for monthly budgets, blah, blah, blah. There was discussion about MACC dues as our largest yearly commitment. B, received a notice from the Board of Health of a new well on 84 West Street. John will check for any wetlands conflict and ask Walter to keep an eye on the progress. Wetlands, A, solar farm, 330 Randall Road, update on enforcement order. John reported that there seems to be some progress on mitigation at the site, including hydro seeding as well as repairs to the swale on the east side of the property and sediment removal. No. Sugar.
Sugar. Where's the spice?
Basin on the. Sorry, I missed that one too. There we go. 35 Randall Road, possible wetlands encroachment. A neighbor reported heavy equipment activity that might be in wetland areas. John and Walter both tried to contact Mr. Muldoon, the property owner, without success. Frustration at Mr. Muldoon not returning calls was expressed. John will try to contact Zach Donahue, Ducharme, and Dillis, engineer for the active OC on the property, to see if the activity could be related to that work. Associate member Holly lives across the street from this property and has also noticed a lot of heavy equipment activity on the site and also believes it to be outside the scope of work approved by the CC and the OC should last fall. Ashley Davies reminded the commission of the importance of the property and nearby property. Specifically, that was Oak Hill, CR, Old Oak. 5, several different possibilities for gathering information about what is happening on the site were discussed. John will continue to find out what's going on and if an enforcement order needs to be issued. 6, appointments, hearings, 7:30, request for NOI DEP number 1070253 for 276 West Street. Wetland violation enforcement order. Scott Morse, son of Ecotech, representing the owner of the property. Mr. Morris stated that approximately 80 square feet of wetlands had been altered. The NOI details mitigation that will include
Morris' son,
Yes.
Well,
under,
that's
under,
changed to 10 days.
Edit
Oh,
right there.
thank you. And replanting with a list of saplings and other appropriate wetland plantings. There's no timeline given for the work, but the CC will be notified prior to the start of the work and once it has been completed. The CC also requests proof of the OOC recording at Registry of Deeds. Carolyn moved that we approve the NOI. Liz seconded. Motion passed unanimously by roll call vote of the members present. John also reported toward the end of the meeting that Mr. Morris did submit a butter notifications and proof of posting the hearing in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette.
Morrison again.
Thank you. I think I would pick up on that. Huh?
Consistent.
New business. Carol O'Connor is retiring from the commission. The CC will discuss who to recommend to the BOS as replacement at our June 3rd meeting. 8, old business, chapter 41, section 56. Received feedback from Juden Poland that we need to name a specific person to be the person authorized to sign minor CC bills. Walter moved that we approve John Aney as the named CC signer. Louise seconded the motion, which passed unanimously by roll call vote of members present. 9, land acquisition, no discussion. 10, land management. Wetland property update. John reported that work on the wetland trail is completed. Carolyn is working on 2 trail signs, and there is still conversation about a possible permanent crossing in one wet area. B, a rogue trail and a jump has been found and cleaned up by John Walter and Chief Galvin on the Oberg portion of Mount Pisgah. C, Ashley Davis reported some downed trees on Great Oak Farm. D, was it just one tree, Walter?
On, where, Great Oak Farm?
Yeah. I thought it was just one tree.
I never saw it. I didn't go over there.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna?
I can, sure.
Okay. I think it was on the north side, you know, between
Was it on the side of the farm or the opposite side?
the side of the farm.
Okay.
I think it's actually not far from the Sawyer Hill Road entrance.
Okay. I'll look at it. I'll get it tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. B, Liz reported a burned area on the east side of Brew Brook Trail. Carolyn also reported that she'd seen it while walking the trail. Liz said that she reported it to the non-emergency number. Community outreach, no discussion. Finally, a vote was taken to go into executive session to discuss land acquisition. The motion passed unanimously by roll call vote of members present. A motion was made by Liz to close this meeting and to go into executive session with the understanding that the commission would not be returning to open session. Carol seconded the motion, which passed unanimously by roll call vote of members present. Carolyn moved we adjourn the meeting. Liz seconded the motion, which passed by roll call vote. The meeting ended at 8:20 p.m. Minutes recorded by Carolyn McDonald. Comments? Louise?
In the people attending, I think Morris, the name was wrong.
I fixed
No,
it.
okay, she did have it correct. No, she has Stephen Morrison.
Let me just. Scott Morrison, right. Thank you.
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
minor, but I didn't report the burned out part of Riverbrook. A neighbor did.
Did you report it to us?
I told you that a neighbor was going to call the non-emergency number. You just say Liz said that it was reported to the non-emergency number.
How's that?
Perfect.
Thanks. Anything else? So entertain a motion to accept the minutes as amended in real time.
So moved.
Is there a second?
So
Second.
second.
Who was that?
You can have it, Steve.
That doesn't matter. Competition.
Keep us awake.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. John, aye. Liz, Liz,
Aye.
Louise,
Aye.
Steve,
Me.
Walter.
Aye.
Okay, thanks. All right, so stop sharing. Close that. Okay, so it's close enough. It's close enough to 7:30. We have it's an appointment, but it's not a hearing, so we don't have to wait to the exact moment. And I think Seth has joined us.
I'm here.
Hi, Seth.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
So
All right.
Mr. Muldoon is here as well. And
Yeah.
I guess first, if you could let us know your concerns, I think that would be beneficial. And then we can hopefully work through them together.
Sure. No, I'll try to summarize. There had been some concerns expressed by some neighbors that there was construction that appeared to be encroaching on wetlands farther back. But it was difficult to ascertain. Walter went over to the neighbor's house and it looked like it was at the cut point from Randall Road. It was far enough from the wetlands there. That's what Walter told me. It looks like they had turned a cart path into more of a access road using heavy equipment. When I rode by, as I mentioned last night, when I rode by there, I noticed that it looks like the septic is in, but it didn't look like any of the work had been started for the wetlands violation. So Walter had called and I had called. Then I contacted you. I'm essentially just looking for a few things, sort of an update on the plans for the remediation for the wetlands violation, and then just following up on concerns that this new access road, which appears to go over a cart path, existing cart path, whether it encroaches on any wetlands that are farther back there. Of note is that property on 35 Randall abuts the Great Oak Farm conservation restriction. So that land is protected land, and so there's there was SVT's concerned about that as well. So that's a summary. Does anybody else have any comments? Okay.
So what I can do, if it's okay with Mr. Muldoon, is I have not been to the property in a bit, and I will walk the cart path and take a look and see if there's a concern of wetlands in that area. And then I can report back to you. We based on our prior work, we have starting to become a pretty comprehensive plan of the property. So I can actually plot that on the plan so that you can have a picture of what's there. And I think that'll, hopefully it's over 100 feet from the wetlands like was planned, and it shouldn't be an issue. If there is an issue, we'll certainly figure out a way to remedy it. And if that's agreeable to the commission and agreeable to Mr. Muldoon, I could head out there tomorrow and take a look at it.
Mr. Muldoon, is that agreeable to you?
That is agreeable.
Okay. And Seth, you said extensive plans?
Well, we have we've probably covered about, I'd say, a third of the property based on our prior work that we've done. So if we have to expand on that a little bit, but my point is that we're not starting from scratch here. So I'm able to show you on a plan
Now I understand.
where this took place.
Yeah, so I didn't understand your comment, that's all.
Liz
Any-
has a question.
Okay, can
I
follow
do. Could someone refresh my memory? I assume that the wetlands are flagged and the flags are still there?
They should be. I mean, I think we all met out there, if memory serves me right, it was about December time. Maybe even a bit earlier.
November, I think it might have been earlier than December.
Okay, but they should be intact still.
Thank you.
Walter?
Mhm.
You had memory from prior years of some wetlands back there, that, independent of the wetlands we'd evaluated in the fall?
Yeah, well, what brought it all on, a neighbor had called. She was concerned about a vernal pool and they weren't within 400 feet of it, maybe even longer. So I put her mind to rest on that. And then she said, it looks like they're developing the whole place. And I said, well, I don't know. They're just working in the front. And anyway, the short story is she pointed in where she had seen equipment working. She would know a bulldozer from a wheel vehicle, but nevertheless, I know in that area it's quite wet. I have hunted in there and I've been in that area a lot, years gone by. So that's why we simply called Mr. Muldoon to see if we could take a quick look at it and avoid going through what we went through before. In fact, I wonder if it'd be all right if I accompanied Seth on tomorrow, just walking it.
I haven't been there in a while, so that's up to Mr. Muldoon. I don't have a set schedule for it. I don't know. At this point, just because we have a little bit of history here, I'd prefer to walk out there alone and not hiding anything from you, but I don't want this to escalate more. I'd rather figure out a solution if there is an issue, and hopefully there's not an issue and be able to report that back to you.
That's fine.
Do you have any sense of the timeline for the mitigation work?
So when we talked about that, we were hoping that we had quite a delay with DEP issuing the file number that kind of dragged this out. And then we were hoping for frozen conditions, which didn't occur. And so I haven't spoken to Bill in a little bit, but it makes the most sense to me to wait until the spring passes here as we get into the drier part of the summer before any of that occurs. So I'll let Bill speak to his plans for that right now.
Yeah, my intention was either that or wait till frozen again to get over it.
I'd rather not wait for it to freeze again, simply because that plan didn't work well last winter. Things are drying out pretty quickly now.
I'm sorry, the problem with the plan last winter was by the time it got approved to actually do it, it was no longer, it was too warm.
Well, that was partly because of the way the winter worked out. It was an unusually warm winter at that section. And it was wet in February and March because the things were all set. I mean, everything was all set by February and March, but it was wet in February and March.
I'm definitely trying to avoid doing it. I just want to do it at the time that'll do the least disruption.
Understood. But I think the land is drying out rather rapidly at this point. It was a very dry May. We had much less rainfall in May than normal, and you can a lot of the intermittent streams are drying up. So it would seem to me that work could probably safely begin soon.
Sure, I have not hired anybody to do that, so I would have to look for somebody.
That would be great.
And just for the record, I wasn't trying to avoid you guys. I'm one of those people that has a home phone number but rarely uses it. And I'd be happy to give you my cell phone if you want to contact me.
Sure.
978-235-8255. 4471.
978-235-4471.
You got it.
Thank you. Okay. All right, great. Anything
So-
else?
Yeah, if it's all right with you, I will check back with you via email. I'll let you know the status of the site walk tomorrow. And then hopefully we'll have better direction on what we're doing.
Thank you, Seth. That'd be great.
Okay.
And I just want to confirm with you too, that my plans for the property have not changed. I do intend to rent the farmhouse. And this whole work was all about finishing the septic and setting an access path. So whoever rents it would have a privacy that I wouldn't be going through their yard to get to the property.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
We'll be back in touch before your next meeting. I'll be back in touch via email, hopefully tomorrow, and then we can see if we need to speak again.
Thank you, Seth.
Okay, thank you for your time tonight.
Take care.
Yep.
you.
Have a good evening. All right, Robin.
Yeah.
So, are they still here? Because they can still witness the meeting. They just can't be part of the panel.
No, nope, they dropped off.
Okay.
Yep, they're off.
I'm here.
Who's here?
I'm here.
I'm very glad of that.
Oh, joy.
I know, huh? Don't worry, I have to leave it before 9. I have a meeting at 9.
Okay, next, mail and notices. Actually, Steve, you could address this. So we got a letter from Parker Environmental Corporation about bringing soil up to that place on Ball Hill Road.
Correct.
Could you fill us in about what the?
Yes, that's the Maplewood Farms. As far as me also being on the Earthworks Committee, we do not, the Earthworks Committee and the a lot of the like-kind soils bylaw that the town put was after this occurred. Right now, the town has some legal agreement with Maplewood Farms that the Copeland Page is really in charge of that. We don't, the Earthworks does not get involved in that project, only because it's a litigation between the town and them. But they have to go, there's a protocol they have to follow. And that's what they do. They notify the town every time they're gonna bring soil in, and the town's got X amount of time to react to it or not react to it. And so it's not, they're kind of in a different situation than the Earthworks Committee can do permits.
Okay. So basically thank you. And we don't have to take any action, correct?
We have no action on that, right?
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, so this is under notices, mail. In case anyone is interested, I got a certified mail from Michigan. There's going to be a community outreach meeting for proposed marijuana establishment on Tuesday, June 16th at 6:30. If anybody actually intends to wants to watch that, just let me know and I'll send you a scan of the Zoom link.
Where is that?
I don't know. It's a Zoom meeting.
But it's,
I don't know where they're going to put it. They didn't
Okay.
list an address.
okay, thanks.
Probably in the village somewhere. That's my guess.
Oh, yes, there was something online. It's on Banner Road. That's down by Worcester Sand and Gravel, right?
Right.
Yep.
It's 64 Banner Road, and the access is right next to Digital Credit Union off of Donald Lynch Boulevard.
Oh.
Thanks, Mary. Okay, so if anybody's interested, I can scan the letter and send you a link. I won't be watching. Next, okay, another screen share. I was just asked today to help with this. So this is a couple of Facebook posts. Garth Coleman, given that we are not allowed to bring reusable bags to stores at the moment, what happens if Article 3 passes again? How would that work? And that the second one doesn't apply to us. I would assume that essentially the state would override the town and he wouldn't have to worry about it. Then Marcia Johnston, question, why have we been paying CPA monies if Attorney General has not approved our article? That one's a little above my pay grade. That's a tax question. I would assume that the monies, so that what happened is, you know, because of essentially a paperwork glitch, all those articles have yet to be approved by the state, so we have to re-vote them into town meeting in June if it happens. So, you know, we're re-voting on the CPA. I would assume that the CPA monies that have been collected in taxes will just get rolled in. But that is a Treasury question. It's not a conservation question. However, Liz, can I assign you the task of responding kindly to these people on Facebook?
And I should respond to Garth saying,
Yes, essentially, the state rules or mandates would overrule the town mandates.
got it.
So it just wouldn't matter,
And
whatever this, yeah. So that's that answer. The other one is
new date,
essentially, pardon me?
should I mention our new date for that or not?
Oh, of course, that'd be great.
We
But
could.
that's also, you'd have to check the past minutes. It's somewhere in, I think it's like December 1st-ish, November 1st-ish, somewhere in there.
I think it was November 1st.
Yeah, I think so too. But that's, given that the state of emergency is over. So it really all depends on the governor's action. And with respect to Marcia Johnston, you could say we would assume that the money would get rolled in, that the CPA will absolutely be signed off on and it'll get rolled in, but that's really more of a question for the town treasurer, not for the Conservation Commission.
Got it. And these were on the conservation Facebook page or
Oh, Mary knows that. I don't know that.
Berlin neighbors?
Actually, it's on the towns. And John, I'll send it to you and Liz both, so you guys, know where to find that link.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't do Facebook. I get allergic rashes when I turn.
Smart man.
But I'll
Smart move.
All right. Next, we have a number of wetlands issues to discuss. The first is the solar farm, DEP 107-0239, with the enforcement order. So I sent around Pat Garner's May 30th report, which was encouraging. They've actually done a lot of work. Both basins have been repaired, and the gunk in the bottom of the basins has been removed. They actually put in those finger swales that we had asked for. And if anybody really wants to hear the engineering behind that, I'll tell them. But anyway, but he was still concerned that a silt fence needed to be resurrected, put back in place, and the hydroseeding wasn't complete. I got an email, I think this morning from Ken that the hydroseeding was complete, but I wasn't sure if he was referring to a prior, if he just simply was echoing a prior statement he'd made. So I clarified, and apparently since Pat was there, they've been back out doing hydroseeding. So, hopefully the hydroseeding is complete. Pat will continue to monitor. The enforcement order, in my opinion, should not yet be lifted. We have to really make sure that stuff grows up and we can then rest assured that no further wetland disasters will occur. Any questions about that update?
Sounds good.
Okay. Next, Highland Ridge Development, DEP 107-0241, Russo Brothers. So this is the Slade project, Chris Slade project.
Yeah.
And if you remember, he told us at a prior meeting he was selling it. So he sold it to a developer who subcontracted to Russo Brothers. And then one of the Russo Brothers called me within the past week just to give me a heads up that, you know, they were going to start up again. They was finally getting started. So I went, I got out our files and read them over, and then, you know, set up a site visit. And then so Walter and myself and another Andy Russo, who lives real close by, you know, went over there, looked over the plans and walked the preliminaries of the site. Now, so this land, if you go up Highland Street from the center of town, it's up on the left. There's an access road which dives in, and then there's a hilltop back there where they're putting in this elderly housing. And the concerning part is that on either side of this, there's a 50-foot drop on both the east and west sides of this hilltop, and both lead into wetlands. So this is an issue of not just putting up appropriate erosion barriers, but stormwater management. And they have the plans, the design calls for 3 stormwater management basins. Now, I went out there was an additional order of conditions which specified that environmental monitor needs to be in place, hired, paid for by the developer, and put in place. So I took the liberty of asking Pat Garner if he was interested, and he said he would. And then this morning, Walter and I asked Andy if that would be okay, and he said yes. So I gave Andy Russo the contact information. So Pat, fortunately, will be the environmental monitor for that site. That'll help a lot. You know, I really hope we can keep on top of this one so there's no more, no repeat environmental catastrophes. I must say that Andy and Jim have been quite straightforward and pleasant to interact with so far. So they seem motivated to sort of do the right thing. I did give them a couple of preliminary permissions, which I hope you'll agree to. One is that they wanted to put, you know, so right now they're cutting down some trees, so they're not doing any soil removal or disturbance. But I did say that it was okay to do a little bit up the top where it's flat for a truck turnaround. They wanted to do a truck turnaround up at the top of this road so they didn't have to back down, and also then do a lot of backing and turning on Highland Street with trucks. So that seemed like a reasonable request that was not going to cause any environmental concerns. It was nowhere near any wetlands. The other thing that he asked Walter and I this morning is at the entrance, the road entrance, you know, he wants to put in a bunch of riprap with a wider entrance because the trucks need to start turning before they hit Highland Street, because Highland Street's not a particularly wide street. And he asked for permission to take down 3 trees and pick up the stumps there to fill them with riprap. And we said, yes, that would be fine, because ultimately it'll help with the, you know, wetland mitigation issues, you know, having that good solid entranceway there. Any questions about that stuff?
That's also not near any wetlands.
Well, no, it is near wetlands. You know, so where the entrance is to the south of that is wetlands. So, you know, you want to have a good, you know, entranceway there with riprap so that you don't get a lot of mud and gunk there. That is also where one of the retention basins is going to be placed. But they're going to have to put in silt fence with straw wattles beforehand, before they do any work there. And before they do they're going to put that in. The next step is they put that in. They cut down trees, they put that in. Then we go up there and do another site walk. Pat will be there with us this time, and, you know, and he'll start doing his regular monitoring. Other questions about that? Louise?
Yes, when were the wetlands last delineated?
I do not know that. So Pat, we could ask Pat to take a second look. It's probably been a while, because the OOC was signed in 2019, like a year ago. And then, you know, this project has been percolating along for quite some time. There are flags still in place. Right now their preliminary work is not near the wetlands. You could just see see that. You know, they have the access road is there, but they're not, it's just a road, which was a pre-existing cart path. You can see that on our old maps. So, you know, they basically improved the cart path, and they're taking down trees, but it's an area that it's not near the wetlands there, but we will have to, yeah, they'll have to take a second look at that. Thank you, Louise. Anything else?
Holly, if I can. Hello?
Oh, thank you, Holly. Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna let you guys know, I noticed they started working a week ago on taking down the trees, and my concern was, I know previously they had signed the agreement and they were allocating a certain amount of land for conservation, and I wanted to make sure that was taken care of, because originally they were asking for some kind of extras that weren't in the original plan. And
Thank you for the segue.
But then on top of that, though, what my concern was, I know that land very, very well. And that big drop off you mentioned, as you go in, they immediately started taking down trees pretty much at the top of that. And I just wanted to make sure that they are, I don't know what they're going to do with the stumps. I don't know a lot about how they're going to handle that.
There's a process to this, you know, so the rules around tree cutting are very different than the rules around stump removal. So they really, for tree cutting, they can just do that.
Right, and that's fine. Yeah, I got that. It was just the stump removal part I was concerned.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen until the silt fence, the silt fence and erosion control measures are in place. I did make an exception for the truck turnaround.
Okay, because I know, yeah, I know. I can say I know that property, and I believe a lot of the wetlands markers were intact last I saw, but again, that was a while ago, and yeah, and I just have concerns because that is beautiful property back there, and I know, I want to just make sure that there is a lot of wet too. So,
yeah, no, Walter was quite sad this morning because you could tell it's nice land up there. Nice land.
It's so beautiful, and it's really sad that all that happened, but I feel like, again, that's just in my backyard, so I have a vested interest in that as well, and the trail system that they have is incredible, and I know talking to them, they talked about maintaining a lot of that, so that was good. But anyway, I'll let you go back
to your excellent segue. So on May 27th, I had a telephone discussion with Alton Stone. He's a wetlands expert concerning, and he's working on developing the CR. And I spoke with him about our prior decision that we did want a baseline documentation of conditions for the land under the conservation restriction. He said, fine, and he's working on that. So they are, so that the CR is slowly coming together. The CR does not have to, according to the order of conditions, the CR does not need to be in place before, it has to be completed before the COC, but not before the start of work.
I want to comment on that because the commission has been burned over time. Walter can back me up on this one, where we've had agreements where we would get conservation land or conservation restrictions, and before you know it, the project gets done and we don't get it on the registry of deeds. We don't get them. So we were trying to make in the past, we were trying to make saying that they have to be registered in a deed before the project can really get underway. Walter can comment more on that, but we've lost some land due to promises that haven't been kept.
That's true.
That's why I'm concerned the most, is because I know they started and I wasn't sure how that was resolved, because I was concerned about that as well.
Yes, unfortunately, we signed the OOC without that stipulation.
We need to monitor that closely because that's usually that usually never gets done.
No, I think we will, and I'll fortunately, because Patrick will be giving us regular updates, we'll get reminded about this project quite a bit. you know, I think it is at least encouraging that they're taking it seriously because, you know, they spontaneously contacted me. I didn't have to reach out to anybody.
There anything, oh, sorry, John.
No, go ahead, Walter.
There's some sort of a paper trail on that. We must have something in writing, even at minutes of our meetings in discussing this. And I think I've seen on a plan roughly where the CR was going to be. But, you know, I totally agree with Steve. We really want to nail that down.
Oh, yeah, no, I've been dealing with this CR thing along. I just, and I mean, I hadn't taken into account Steve's point as well, but because last December, I got contacted by a lawyer that represented the person that bought the land from Chris about the CR and everything. You know, so everybody's been aware of it. It just hasn't been finished yet. But yes, as far as, you know, the deed thing, yes, that's, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Thank you, Steve. If anybody wants me to email them a copy of the additional order of conditions, I can do that.
Changing the order of conditions to put that in the deed?
No, I can't do that. No, I'm
Can't
saying
do
the
that
ones,
now. It's too late.
I'm just saying the ones we voted on a year ago. Just if you wanted to look at them, that's all. That's all. You don't even have to decide right now. Just email me anytime you want, and I'll flip you. I'll send them right over. Okay. All right. Can I finish up with that point then? Are we done with Highland Ridge for now?
Mhm.
Yep.
Next, 100 River Road. I guess the old Tyler farm. Now, Walter brought this to my attention, and we went out on Wednesday, May 27th. He had gotten permission from Indian Head, and we walked on Indian Head property, maybe a little bit on the Boundless Adventures, but they didn't seem to mind because anyway. And you know, we're able to look at the property from the back while being on Indian Head property. There was concern that there was a wetland violation there, where they had pushed soil close to wetlands as part of his work. After that, you know, Walter, you know, asked again the Indian Head folks if it'd be okay if Dave Burke went over there and had a look. And I believe Walter's been in discussion with Dave Burke about doing an evaluation to see if we should issue an enforcement order. Am I summarizing that correctly, Walter?
Right, correct.
Okay. There is a separate issue. So there is an active cease and desist order on that property. It was signed April 15th by the town inspector, and there is a hearing to appeal that decision. Essentially, what the inspector said is that a contractor's yard is prohibited in that district. But the owner has hired a lawyer, and so there's an appeal of that decision. If anybody wants to attend that hearing, it'll probably be by Zoom. It's on June 10th at 6:45. And I'd be happy to send you the link.
Yeah, would you send it to me, please?
Yeah, let me do that now.
Okay, send it to me also.
Yep. Let me, oops, I don't want to do that. Bear with me. All right, y'all should have just gotten one, or I just sent it out, so it'll arrive shortly. Because yes, weighing in on that would probably be useful. Okay, any other comments about that? So because this is an issue in process.
Okay. I just wanted to make a note, on your agenda, you have Indian Head property. Isn't there a development further down on River Road that is using the title Indian Head?
Not that I'm aware of.
Indian Head Farms?
Well, I
They
think we
call
should
themselves
include the
Indian
word
Head
farm.
Estates. Indian Head Estates is a housing project that straddles the Berlin-Bolton line. Or is it Berlin-Hudson? I can look that up.
Berlin Hudson,
Oh, really?
okay. So I want to include, I want to say Indian Head Farm property.
Yes.
Oh. Huh, I
It's,
didn't,
it's one of the Wheelers, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments on 100 River Road West? River Road, I guess it's east, but whatever.
just pick up on what Louise said. We refused to give them a crossing on Indian Head. Well, I'm all through with Indian Head Farm and the Tyler Farm, so I would like to just not follow up what Louise just said, because I was waiting to hear from DEP if they overrode our, gave a superseding order of conditions on.
They have not.
They have not.
They have not yet
Okay,
acted.
okay,
About at least a month ago, the Schmidt sent out a query about something saying she was working on it, but there's been no further word.
okay.
So that's the Bigelow Road one. Yep. Okay. All right. Next on the wetlands, this well thing, well inspection. So Friday, a homeowner at 32 Crosby called me up at work, you know, saying that he was told that he needed the Conservation Commission to sign off on his well thing. And he was nervous about it because he wanted to get it done. So we talked. I just went over there on Saturday. I took a look at the issue, and it was basically a non-issue. So I hand wrote a letter and put it back in the I put it in the Board of Health box, and then sent him a copy. But this is interesting. This whole well thing is a bit perplexing because I think they tell the people to contact us, but then there's not really a good loop to make sure that we know or we follow up. Or I mean, this man, Mr. Reeder, is just he's a very nice man. He's retired. He lives over on Crosby. He's a very, very nice man. And he was just doing what he was asked to do. But I get a sense that a lot of people just don't. Do any of you have any background on this?
Can't help you.
All right.
We tried, didn't we change the forms so that we were notified along with all the other boards?
That was on building permits.
Oh yeah, I get notified about all building permits, and it's kind of annoying, frankly. But yes, but it's also useful. Yes, I'm constantly signing off on building permits.
Well, that's good.
But there isn't a similar system for wells. It's sort of a little bit. I might hear about it. I might not hear about it. I don't know. I guess I'll work. I'm just gonna put that one in my thinking pile. I'll think about that. All right, let's move on. New business. Opening on the commission. Carol is stepping down. She still can function as a member based on the holdover clause in case we need a quorum. But so the issue here is about people that might be interested and how to go about this. I did a little bit of reading in the manual about this. It just gets more and more complicated the more I read about it. Essentially it's a balance between trying to find people with particular skills that we're interested in versus trying to find people that are willing to devote the time to serve on the Conservation Commission and work for free. So it's difficult. I think, for instance, if we had a wetland scientist that had moved into town and was interested in joining us, then that would be great. Right now, I think we have two people that are potentially interested, both Holly and Robin, and I'm sort of curious about how people's perspective on how to go about this.
Well, let's ask, are they both interested for now?
Well, they have expressed interest, so I think you can assume they are. I would just comment, as I did once before, that in the 30 or 40 or whatever years I've been on the Conservation Commission, we've never, ever, took a vote on who wanted to be with us. It's strictly a the select board's decision to make. But it wouldn't hurt to recommend it. I'm sure they follow our recommendation.
Well, we've always made a suggestion to the board, the select board.
Well, I won't be offended. I'll still participate even as an associate member. So, I mean, I don't want to create a difficult situation. I mean, I'm happy to help if needed, but, I'm going to continue to be involved as an associate either way. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think Robin's fantastic, and she has such initiative, and she has done so much for the rail trail. Honestly, if I was you guys, I'd vote for her. I just want to do this because I care. I care about Berlin. I care, and I want to be the eyes and ears of Randall Road. And just to let you know quickly, I had a very kind of bad altercation with Muldoon the other day. It wasn't nice at all, and it made me pretty upset, but I walked away thinking, you know what? I did make a difference. I called out something that I didn't think was right. I'm sorry I upset him so much, and what went between us was not very pleasant, but I just walked away thinking, okay, I did what I had to do, and I'm a concerned citizen of Berlin, and given everything that's been going on our street, we have a swimming pool, we have a well, we've had a Muldoon issue, and now what's happening in pretty much my backyard. I just want to be there to try and make a difference in what's happening. That's all. I'll shut up.
Are you okay with, I mean, how bad was it with Muldoon, the interaction with Muldoon?
Honestly, it was pretty scary. I think you all were there when he came up to me to my face and said, "Who are you to tell me what I can and can't do with my property?" And then I was just walking my dog down the street. It was a couple of weekends ago, and I didn't know who it was out in the front yard, and I just went up and I was just like, "Oh, this looks great. You're putting in grass, and they were filling in for the septic." And I realized it was Muldoon, and he just turned to me and he said, "It's you. It is you who brought this on me, and I was told it was you, and you're causing me all these problems." And he just started yelling at me for a good 5 minutes. And then I said, "I'm sorry you feel that way." And I just saw something I didn't think was right. I brought it to the attention of conservation. He said some bad things about Walter. And then he said that I said some things weren't true. And I said, if you want to go ahead and listen to the meetings, they're all recorded. I think you can see what was said. He's like, "I did," and blah, 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 blah. So it just was a little upsetting. And he pretty much called me that I made an enemy. He didn't want to come in and make enemies, but yeah, I didn't mean for all that to happen. I didn't mean to be mean about it. I just, told him. So anyway, yeah.
I'm sorry you went through that. And I am grateful that you picked up on the wetlands violation. I think that was important. And no, this isn't Alaska. This is Massachusetts. People do, care about what happens in the immediate environment here. You can't just own 1,000 acres and do what you want.
Well, I think he just was under the impression that I went on a rumor that things were going to be developed back there. And then I said, well, I have concerns because you filled in this area across the street from me. And then I realized that you also did it over where you're building this new road, which is pretty intense. And I just said, well, I'm curious, where's this road going? Because I can't see the other side. And I know there's an awful lot of wetness back there. And he's just basically said that he didn't know you guys were trying to reach him. And I said, well, I was told you gave him your cell phone number, and he did it again tonight, said the same thing. I was going to say something, but I didn't want to start a fight. but he basically just said that he would have, he was upset that Seth had to get involved, and that what does he think I'm doing? And I'm just, you know, an enemy, and that he wanted to retaliate against me and said, well, what if I don't like what you're doing at your house? What if I don't like what your barn and your horses? So
There's legal and there's illegal. And if everything was great, then he probably wouldn't have responded like that. So I'm glad you spoke up.
well, I think I told him, I said, when I came to town, this is my life dream to have a horse farm. And I knew there was wetlands on my property. And I went to the Conservation Commission, and I know Walter, I worked with Walter. And I said, I was very upfront about what I wanted to do. And I followed what they told me to do. And yeah, I had a surveyor. I put up the straw and the barriers, and I did what I was told to do. And that's all I was asking of you. If you could just be upfront of what you're doing, and maybe we would be less concerned about what's going on. Anyway, that's it. So I just thought I'd tell you guys, because it was kind of upsetting.
It is upsetting, and thank you for letting us know.
John,
Yeah.
Robin, would you bring some skills and help with the writing? There's a lot of paperwork and needs to be done, and
Actually,
getting more and more of it.
Yeah, I'm happy to help with that stuff.
Robin, you're echoing.
Yeah,
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
can't understand you.
Oh, you know, I'm having terrible sound issues tonight. I keep getting all you guys are garbled, so I don't know. It sounds like there was an update that I missed. Can you guys hear me okay with this?
You're very
It's-
jumbled.
No, I can hear you
Okay.
I can hear you well.
Twice.
It's just that, yeah, it's
Can't
I can hear you
understand.
twice. All right,
Oh, okay.
let me talk for a sec. You know, to Walter's point, and it's actually to some discussions I've had with Carolyn too, that, you know, with respect to, you know, my role as chair and, you know, what this involves, and, you know, some of what Carolyn was dealing with, there is a lot of regulatory work that's involved. You know, a lot of this job, you know, there's fun stuff, but there's a lot of it is just, you know, regulatory work and paperwork and things like that. And, you know, particularly in the absence of a conservation agent. I mean, I think at some point, we probably should move towards a part-time conservation agent, but it's impossible to do so at this point because of budgetary reasons. So, you know, I personally am looking for assistance with that. Additionally, Carol's absence means that we need somebody to take on the treasurer role. And so my understanding is that, you know, Robin already has some permitting experience and is familiar with accounting basics and stuff like that. And so at this point, I am more interested in having her take on the position, you know, not because, you know, of anything else other than I need some assistance in those particular areas. You know, there is a lot of stuff. And, you know, I need to sort of have someone come in to help me with some of the regulatory and accounting issues.
Well, given that, and also Holly's initial comment, which was very flattering, and Robin, I think I guess I'll be voting for Robin. Just if you want to send a recommendation, you want that in a motion, or how do you want?
I'm not sure we want an emotion. I'm almost inclined just to take executive authority on this one.
Okay.
You know, just because I think I have a sense of what work needs to be done, and you know, I feel like this is specifically the help that is needed now.
It makes a lot of sense, John.
I'd like to make a suggestion, okay? It does seem like Robin has the skills that we need right now, but Holly, I think you're very, very interested in protecting land and everything. And you're presently an associate member, that maybe you could really focus on that. Maybe work with Walter, since that's one of the things that he likes to do the most. Does that sound interesting to you at all?
Oh yeah, I think that's what I said when I came, is that I really was interested in open space and trying to make sense of the land that we are protecting, to try to interlock those protected lands so that we have a wildlife corridor, and as well as a place for people also to hike and enjoy and make more sense of the land that we are protecting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my big thing. Oh yeah, and that's why I'm here, and I'll keep doing it. I'm hoping that one day I can be a member.
So do I.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, so do I. I just have to, at this point, I'm not thinking about individuals. I'm thinking about the commission and the needs of the commission. That's my perspective.
Go for it.
All right.
I just want to add, Holly, I like that you ride horses and you have a different perspective that you bring, and you're on certain trails, and I want to thank you for that, adding that to our skill set.
Oh, anytime. Because I don't know if you guys know, but Jay Teach has this master plan where he wants to start taking a lot of the open space and kind of doing what I want to do with it. So I have allies too, outside of conservation. But yeah, I think that's my biggest thing. And I'm not so good at administrative stuff anyway. And I do like to do the fun stuff. So especially Memler Trails. So that was awesome. So anyway, yeah. All good.
Okay. All right, good. So I will take on the responsibility of making a recommendation to my recommendation to the select board.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. Next, old business. I have none. Land acquisition. I have no information to discuss in open meeting. Land management. So 4 things. Wendler, speaking of Holly's and all of her assistants down there, is pretty much ready for opening. Unfortunately, it's going to be mostly a virtual opening. The SVT sort of wants to do some little thing, and Ashley had mentioned that Louise's niece had helped in this before, and maybe also Berlin Cable. And so there'll be like, probably Dan and Ashley and myself, and I may ask Candy Harrington, because she has been great over the last several months with this process too. So, and then, maybe do a little thing, but we can't have a big opening, or I was even going to have a party, but can't have one of those either. But the trail looks good. I mean, you should go out and check it out. When I rode by this morning, that wet area is just about dried up, and Dan and I will try to figure out what the most sensible way to deal with it is. The trail's blazed. I don't think Carolyn was able to make the signs before her hand surgery, so she probably will afterwards once she's feeling better. But that's just for fun stuff anyway. I think. Let me share something. So this is the draft map. So you can see this is Peach Hill Road, parking area there. And this is the trail that we created, right through down to there, all the way down. And this is the part, this part here is a whole cart path that needed to be cleaned up. And then the cart path kind of degrades around here and just becomes a regular trail that we made. And this is the part that goes over the Harrington CR and then down to parking. You can see the little wet crossing there. Interestingly, SVT took away the trail from Lancaster Road to these trails simply, even though everybody parks and uses them, and there's signs there just because of the railroad crossing. You're not supposed to do that. But anyway, so this is, I think there's a couple of tweaks that need to be done, but that's the map. So that's cool. So that'll go up on our website and on the SVT's website. And then what's neat is, like, you can see that there's connections to all this land in Bolton, and then all the 40 caves in the Garfield Woods area. So that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
All right. Next, Oberg CR visit.
John, can I interrupt you a minute?
Yep.
Has everybody seen that series of maps, or that map that I did with Central Mass that shows the progression of protecting land in Berlin in chronological order to the point where we are today?
Well, in the past, but not recently. I don't have it on my computer.
Okay, as long as you've seen it, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. I just don't have it on my computer right
It
now.
tells the whole story pretty much of what went on. And
Well, right. I mean, it's thanks to Walter that the Harrington CR exists. You know, he was the one that worked with Candy to get that all settled years ago. So, okay. Oberg CR, SVT is a CR monitor for the Oberg property. One of their monitors went down there, took a look around, and noticed that a homeowner had put some yard waste on the other side of the stone wall and dumped it from their property into the Oberg property. He identified the house number, then I, after a little bit, got from the assessors who the person was. And so I wrote them a letter today to get them to cut that out. And that should probably suffice. It's really just yard waste in one plastic bucket. It's not a big deal. But it was at 117 Lyman.
They need to remove it, or do they just need to?
I told them to remove the big stuff in the plastic bucket. I'm not gonna. It seemed ridiculous to have them try to scoop up leaves and things like that. It's just gonna biodegrade. They just really need to stop doing that. You know, that's because it's dumping on town property, which is conservation land. They can't do that.
we sent a letter to every abutter of conservation land a few years back. It's a full page letter. Telling them what we want and how we would work with them. If they want to cut a whole little firewood or tree hanging over their property or something like that, I could get that out and send it to all of you. Take a look at it. Maybe we should send it around again or something.
Okay, that's great.
You can also post it on our website.
Yeah, right.
Yes. All right. Next. Just want to share this too. So I've been working with that Eagle Scout candidate, and he's just about done. And so this is the new map of Berlin Mills and Surrey Hill, of the Surrey Hill CR. And so he got in there and he sort of reorganized the trails and, you know, corrected the map thing. Because there's two bridges there, not one. We also, you know, we had removed this part of the trail at the request of the owner of the Chedco CR. Had some communications with her, or the woman that Pat Jackson, who's the representative for them, and so they didn't want a trail there, so there's no trail there. And you know, you can see it all goes down here. So he's been very happy working with this project. It's been kind of neat. And I'm going to get some large versions of this with a "You Are Here" sign for these 3 parking places and get them printed up at Staples and put in those. There's a kiosk here and there's a kiosk here already in existence. And we decided he's just going to put it up on an old oak there at the beginning of the trail. So he's not going to, which is fine. He's just going to mount it up on a piece of treated plywood and put it on the tree there. So with everybody's permission, I was going to ask the webmaster to put this up on the website to replace the current map. That sound okay?
Go for it. Yep.
For me.
Sounds good.
Great.
Fine with me.
Thank you. then finally, under land management, there's rusty old cars. So Louise brought to our attention that somebody hiking at Pisgah noticed a couple of cars. He wanted to like buy them. And
He wanted to buy the Blazer.
Right. And Walter's familiar with these cars, but then it's not even clear to me if they're even on town-owned property at this point.
They are.
They're on the west, is that on the, are they on the
East side.
west side or the east side?
If you park to go up Mount Pisgah, and in the parking lot, go diagonally across the street to the east side of Lyman Road, there's a sign on a tree that says private property, but that cart road that goes right in there is ours. That's on our land.
Oh, okay. That's interesting because that's not what the assessor shows.
Well, it is.
Yeah, I believe you. But
so you get in there and there's a thicket on the right of multi-floral rose and bittersweet and all kinds of stuff. And if you crawl and claw your way in there, you'll see these two vehicles. One of them's an old Chrysler. I've never seen anything like it. The roof is rotted off it. I don't know how that happened. But anyway, then there's this Blazer sitting there that I can't imagine anybody wanting to restore it even. But nevertheless, if he wants to haul it out of there, maybe it's worth making him haul them both out of there.
yes, that's fine. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I want to delegate it. I don't. So, you know, if anybody wants to work with this guy, that's fine. Otherwise, the rusty old cars can just sit there and rust for all I care. Do you want to, Louise or Walter, you want to work with him or no?
No. I don't know. I will if you want me to follow through.
I have no interest at this point. I don't, you know, it's not in the Oberg CR. It's I guess it's town-owned land, but it's not part of, you know, it's not part of our conservation bundle of lands. I just don't want to expend any more effort on these rusty old cars.
The amount of effort to clean that up and other junk in there and get rid of it is way greater than the value of cleaning it up. I mean, you go in and out of it, you don't even notice it unless you crawl in there and see it. And nothing's leaking oil. There's no pollution going on. Just let it, 50 years from now, that Blazer will be worth something. It'll be an antique.
Maybe. So would you just keep it in storage?
Will the parts fit mine?
Well, it's a lot better shape than yours.
Should we, and I'm willing to do that, at least contact the person and tell them that we're not interested?
Well, that they can take the Blazer, and how about taking the other one if they don't mind?
Well, it is, yeah, but it gets,
right.
The question is, like, you know, what if there's wetlands nearby and he needs to cut the land to get in there and stuff like that?
He doesn't. It's just a bunch of brush you have to cut and hook onto it and drag it out of there. There is wetlands nearby, but things sitting there. You're going to have to. Steve, if you're serious, go take a look at it yourself. I mean, give it to somebody on the commission rather than a stranger.
I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'm not interested. I got enough on my plate. My truck's running fine. Past inspection.
Steve, you're in a cloud. I can't see you.
Oh, there we go. How's that?
Yeah,
That's enough.
Okay, so that's that. Community outreach, I have nothing. Okay, so executive session, we do have something. So how does this work, Louise? So we need to, I proposed that we hold an executive session. So we first have to vote on whether we're going to hold an executive session, correct?
Yes.
And then we have to vote to close the meeting with the understanding that we will not reopen the meeting after the executive session.
Actually, technically, you do review. Sorry to chime in here.
Hi, Mary.
I just do it so often. you do actually quote return to open session, but for the sole purpose of adjournment. So when you're entering executive session, your motion would be that you're entering executive session for your stated purpose, which is applicable to a certain exemption, and that upon conclusion of executive session, you'll return to open session. And sometimes that just happens simultaneously with the sole purpose of adjournment. And that's
Nobody can see that though. So that's why I thought we closed, we notified it before. My understanding was we notified at this point that we're not returning.
That's correct, but you're still going to quote, you're going to do it from executive session because you're right, no one's going to be able to do it. The only reason why this statement matters is because sometimes you can leave executive session and then come back and continue open session. So you want to make clear here that you're not going to be returning for an open session beyond just simply adjourning your executive session.
All right, well, we'll have 2 votes then. We'll do lots of voting, and that way we'll cover all the bases.
Okay.
You know, who's on first? You
All right,
froze, Mary.
Move that we go to executive session for the purpose of discussing possible land purchase.
Second.
Third.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, roll call vote. Myself, aye. Louise,
Aye.
Steve,
Me.
Walter,
Aye.
and
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
DiChiara. Did you notice I've been pronouncing your name correctly? Did you notice
Very
that?
nice. I have. I've been appreciating
Okay.
it all night.
All right, so we're going to hold a just in case vote. So we're going to vote on this twice, but so that now we're going to hold a vote to bring this meeting, to adjourn this meeting with the understanding we will not be returning to open session after the executive session, but we'll vote again on this later just so we get cover all the bases. So that's, so somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
I make a motion, we close this hearing, this meeting, and we will not return, and we'll go into executive session.
Second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, John, aye. Louise,
Aye.
Liz,
Aye.
Steve,
Me.
Walter,
Aye.
we're done. Okay.